Well, welcome to the Creative Aspect. I am your host, Light. I am a marketer and photographer by profession, and this podcast was created for creatives by creatives. This is a podcast dedicated to spotlighting branding, marketing, advertising, and everything else in the creative world. Well, today I have a special friend. His name is Moses, if you guys don't know. Some call him Mo Legend. Some call him the guy I crossed on the court numerous times, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But let's talk about his accolades. So he has a master's from Georgetown in sports marketing. He's an all-conference athlete at Stevenson University football, and his brand, BlitzFits, which we're talking about today, has been featured on Essence Magazine, USA Today, Sports Illustrated, and, well, on Instagram. So without further ado, let me pass him on the mic. Did I miss anything?
Nah, man. Yeah, you did miss something. Crossovers, I don't know what you talking about.
Look, if you don't have footage of it, it don't matter.
All right, don't worry. I'll post some footage for this. You guys that's watching, go watch my Instagram story in a little bit. You'll see some moments for Light.
No, but honestly, I'm super proud of you. I always tell you that. I'm so honored that you're the very first guest. And I forgot, I didn't even dap you up.
My guy.
All right, so Moses, starting out, we want to know, or I guess the listeners and the viewers want to know, what exactly is BlitzFits and what inspired you to create it?
Yeah, for sure. So, and it's one, I want to say I'm proud of you, man, for doing this. As a marketer myself,
hey,
and I bounce a lot of ideas off of you, so I think that
likewise,
a great platform to be able to just talk about branding and just storytelling and how to do it well.
Right.
So man, shout out to you, man. I hope y'all stay tapped into this.
For sure.
But yeah, man, we talking about BlitzFits today. So how BlitzFits started, I think I played ball. A good amount of my life. I started.
You got to specify which ball.
American
it's
football.
Not basketball. So
nah, I mean, okay. I did that too. You know what I'm saying? I was a three sport athlete in high school: basketball, football, track. And yeah, what was you in high school? Oh, my bad. Man. But anyways, so yeah, I started playing football at the age of 9. And growing up, in essence, BlitzFits is a football fashion page for context for people that's listening. So like we feature, prominently, professional football players, American football players in their fashion, kind of giving them an imagery and a way to show themselves outside of the game, right? Another way to in American football, you wear helmets, and you're not able to see or recognize players unless it's the top guys like Odell or Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes. You don't really know who some of the guys are, so a lot of the guys are into fashion. So I created a platform to kind of showcase that. So we, a lot of walk-in tunnel fits. We do stuff like, in the off season when guys working out, what guys are wearing. Everybody wants to know what guys are wearing, right? And everybody likes fashion to an extent. So, growing up, I started getting into, I wouldn't say I'm a stylist or a fashionista or fashion guy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I like to put simple pieces here and there.
Right.
We got a couple friends that they're the fashion guys, and we probably know who we're talking about.
Yeah, they know it too. If they're
they know it too. If they're listening, they're the fashion guys. Like they'll call out a brand, they'll see it. But I started getting, and I'll say, by product of being around some of these guys, I started to get into fashion too.
Right.
I don't want to blow their heads up too much, but they know who they are.
Yeah, we know who this specific guy is.
So, so yeah, like around 2019, 2020, I was like, man, there's no platform that's really pioneering, showing guys wearing fits in the football space. We had NBA, we had soccer. They had their pages that's showing love to what they're wearing, but there wasn't really anything for football. So I was like, man, I'm gonna just create this page, to have players show themselves in fits. Another way, take them out of the helmet, and contextualize them a little bit more, and see how far I could grow it, and see what I could do with it, and change the narrative of football and fashion. Growing up, the narrative is always football players can't dress. To an extent, there's some truth to that.
Okay, I'm glad you said it.
I was a part of that.
I was about to say it, but I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, to an extent, I was a part of that. You know what I'm saying? But I think over the years, we've seen guys that's really starting to, put it on in their own way. Of course, it's subjective. But in my opinion, I see football's come a long way. So yeah, how it started is I literally was like, yo, I'm about to create this. I want to see how big I could grow it, and then we'll see what happens next to it. So it started in 2019, technically in September, March of 2020 when the pandemic started. I really just like started going all the way in and curating content just for football fashion, and now, we're at we just reached the milestone of 100K followers.
Which congrats. That's very. I mean, last time I checked, it was like 110 something. Or has it changed?
I think it's 111 now.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so it's humbling to see something that you said. This is what I want to do. Now seeing it happen, this is definitely a humbling moment.
And that kind of leads me to my second question. Like earlier, you said that like you created this because like the demand was there, but it wasn't really supplied. So knowing that, like, how did you gather the audience? Like, how did you put the word out there that like, hey, this is something that I'm creating, and you love for them to tune in?
Nah, that's a good question, man. So like when we first started, I was talking to you from the jump when we started it.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, Light's been my side consultant, low key. But now when I started it, the demand is there because there's other leagues that have done it, and it shows that demand is there.
Right.
American football is one of the biggest sports in America. So I know that, people love sports, people love fashion, people love American football. The audience is there. It's just who can do it and do it well and do it consistently enough to garnish that attention of people. So I think that, once I got into it, I think it was just more of the consistency route and being strategic on like, creating connections with athletes, stylists, photographers, all those people in that ecosystem of those athletes, because it's a page, although it's garnishing the attention of non-athletes, it's a page really for athletes, just like this is a podcast by creative for creative. It's a platform, by a player, former player. I didn't play at the highest level, but a player for players to showcase themselves.
Right.
And then everybody else is just watching. You know what I'm saying? So it started like just being consistent and then creating those relationships and then, seeing it all the way through.
So you kind of have like a unique approach to it, because like in corporate world it'd be like B2C and B2B in some way. Yeah, I mean that's really cool. As a guy who personally doesn't really watch much of football,
right?
I do look forward to seeing BlitzFit posts because I think it humanizes them a little bit more. Like you mentioned, the helmet kind of creates a separation. Plus, like basketball, for example, you could sit courtside and even if you're like way up in the rafters, like you could still kind of see who it is. With football, like with the helmet, for obvious reasons, you don't see it. So seeing that,
it's a way different culture, and I would love to sit here and say like, yo, we gonna be on the same level as the NBA.
Okay, like, listen, you jumping questions because
the NBA culture is so different. Like it's just
And what do you think about the NBA culture that makes it different?
I mean, one, I think it's like you mentioned, like you already know who the guys are. So the star player or the star power is a lot higher to an extent.
Right.
And there's less players on the team. So the chances are of you knowing everybody on a basketball team is way higher than knowing everybody on a football team.
That's a good
just
point.
Because of, star power and being able to see the guys. So I think it's just the culture of it, one being like an indoor game where people are coming with fits and celebrities are there, all that type of stuff.
Right.
It's different. You know what I'm saying? In football, it's still there, but it's the star power and like the culture just of, fashion and everything like that. It kind of just, we're kind of catching up, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's because some of those things I mentioned, like the star power is different. The marketing is different when you're trying to market, the players run the league. In the NBA, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Players have power in the NFL as well, but it's more like an ultimate team game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? One player can change an NBA team.
Right.
It's rare that one player can change an NFL team. So it's just different barriers. Not to say that it's just different cultures.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a different culture, and in a sense, I think fashion-wise, we're catching up. In our own way.
Okay.
I should say.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of y'all football players are just built different, like,
Yeah, bruh.
literally and metaphorically.
That's another good point too, because like, shoot, in basketball, for the most part, all guys are built the same.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, some guys are taller than others, but at the end of the day, most guys are slim. They're in. I mean, let me not say in shape, but they're more on the slim side of things, right? You might have one outlier here and there. Football, you can literally have
Desmond Bain.
Football, you can literally have two different spectrums of players, right? You have a
Mm.
D tackle that weighs 320, 330, 6'3", and then you got a receiver that's like, 6 foot, 170 or 185, 195, and clothes just don't fit the same on both bodies. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's one of the better things that I wanted, or let me not say better things. That's one of the things I wanted to highlight as well, because there's big guys that are dressing, and in my opinion, and I might be biased, but like, as a bigger guy, to be able to dress well, that takes a lot more effort.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
You gotta
I agree.
You got to go get tailoring done. Some things don't fit. The silhouettes are different.
Right.
So it's like you're able to showcase a spectrum of, I guess for lack of a better term, like body shapes, physiques.
Right.
And be able to show like, hey, this is fashion on a whole different spectrum.
So do you think that like that ties to, the brand aspect to an athlete on and off the field, like the fashion aspect?
Yeah, for sure. I think you talking about like in terms of how what you wear translates to.
Yeah, like in terms of the player being more marketable for brands to collaborate or sponsor.
I think when we think about brands, it's like your whole being. You know what I'm saying? Like all of us are brands to an extent. Not even to an extent. All of us are brands.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So how you carry yourself, whether you realize it or not, is a part of your brand. Are you more of a low-key guy? You like to just be in sweats and chill? Like you're a little more low-key and, down and not really trying to do too much. If you like to express yourself through clothes and stuff, then that's your brand. That's how you represent yourself. That's the story that you're telling about yourself. So I think a lot of guys, especially guys that are dressing up, they're into fashion. They want to be able to storytell through fashion. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that that we want to hone in on. Like at the end of the day, marketing and branding and all that is storytelling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of in what avenue are you going to tell stories? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For some people, it's through fashion. For other people, it's through music. For other people, it's through just literally sports. For some people, it's through cooking. You know what I'm saying? Fashion is just the avenue for us to tell stories about football players.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it from a branding aspect.
Okay.
We may do some content and you're going to get fashion in there, but you're going to learn more about the player in itself.
Okay. Yeah. And how do you stay tethered to like the culture? Like how do you stay up to date to the latest trend and who's hot, who's not? Like,
man, I mean, I will say my screen time has gone up a lot more since I started.
Care to share the numbers?
No, we can't share the numbers, man. I'm trying to practice this, silence and solitude, but who knows? I might have to bring on more people to help out. But
hey, so is it fair to say that like if you need a job to hit you up right now?
Hey man, we're internships.
Hey, listen,
small.
This is breaking news specifically from the Creative Aspect. Like you're not gonna hear it anywhere else, all right? So if you need a job, how much does it pay?
Hey man, I'm trying to pay.
No, we're not talking about that. Hit him up first.
Yeah,
internship.
Man, he'll put the email and everything.
Yeah, but, facts.
My bad, I forgot a question.
Nah, so I knew we were just gonna laugh.
Oh man.
Dang, now I forgot the question.
What was it? It was how do I stay tethered?
Yeah. How do you stay tethered to the culture?
Yeah. Like, so I mean, I don't know. It's like on the page, I've been very strategic on like what accounts I'm following.
Okay.
Obviously I have my own personal Instagram.
Right.
But then I have BlitzFits Instagram. And I think that I try to be strategic in what we're following because, it's a curated page.
Yeah.
Right? We're curating stuff either from what players send us or what we see on social media. So following and this is something I did even early on, finding brands that, you know, it may not even be in the same industry or in the same sphere.
Got you.
But seeing stuff that they like and seeing how they're tethered to culture and implementing some of the things that they do, right? Not copying verbatim, but like, oh, I like how they stay on top of this, or I like how they post this. So I think all of that, we curated not only just the content we have, we curated who we're following, right? To be able to make sure that, hey, if I log into the BlitzFits page, that the content that I'm seeing on my timeline,
right,
is going to be stuff that we're going to post, you know, or going to inspire us on next content ideas.
Right.
That's what I think.
Okay. Okay. That's a really solid point. So when it comes to BlitzFits, I tend to think of it like you serve 3 different appetites, you could say, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the person who cares solely about the football player and wants to see like what they do off the field, so their favorite football players. You have those that care about fashion. Then you have those on the third category that cares about the fashion and the football player. So how do you kind of cater your marketing and when you're posting, curating it to those specific consumer behaviors?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think that I'm in a unique position where I kind of fit all 3 buckets.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So even when I started posting, me naturally being in all 3 buckets, I posted stuff that would cater to all 3.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a mixture of guys, you know, to your point, it's a mixture of people that follow just for the fashion, you know what I'm saying? Or people that follow just because, oh, they saw their favorite player repost BlitzFits on their page, so they're following, you know what I'm saying? Or you have someone that's a mixture of all 3 or both of them. So I think, you know, when I started it, I had that in mind.
Okay.
And the good thing about it is I don't necessarily need to, you know, change the approach of it. Obviously, you innovate, you create content, you know, that is going to capture new eyes and stuff, but the goal is always the same, you know, creating content to get these guys out of the helmet, right? Just through fashion, and then whoever comes on, it's just a byproduct of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you essentially have 3 buckets that you focus on, but you yourself, you're not a bucket.
Nah, I'm a bucket. That was clever. I like that.
Dad jokes.
Hey, man. I would say Light is one of the guys I ball with the most. You know what I'm saying?
And what happens? Like, what's the record right now?
We don't play one-on-one.
Okay.
We play together against other teams.
When you're ducking the work, of course we're not going to play one-on-one.
I mean, hey, man, I'm at a point in my life where one-on-one doesn't serve me anymore. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going one-on-one with you, bruh, if you win, that don't mean that you're the better player.
Nah, facts though. I do, like, when I play against other people, I have that mentality too. Because like it doesn't always translate well when you're actually playing team ball.
But there's some people that I will beat in one-on-one just for pride. You know what I'm saying?
I have someone in my mind right now, but I don't even want to call them out. So I'm just no. But on a serious note, that's a very good point. I think like being vision minded is so beneficial. Like you, even before you started a brand, like you were strategic. You kind of understood who your consumer were, and even, you know, though you didn't know exactly, you kind of envisioned, you know, if this is who I'm trying to serve, like this is how I'm gonna strategize around them. So I think that's a key takeaway, that like whether you're in fashion, whether you're in music, entertainment, like this is something that you can kind of take with you. For sure. That's really good. Fashion over the years has changed. Again, I'm not a heavy football, you know, watcher, but like prime time, you know, I remember, well, not that I remember, but I've seen photos of him when he was younger, and I was like, yo, this guy, like he's always been the same. So my question for you is, like, over the time, we know that, you know, just like everything else, right? Culture, fashion, whatever, it changes. So how have you been able to kind of document that or contribute to that?
Yeah, I think it's more on the document. Well, it's actually kind of both. I think, you know, over the years, posting the various different guys and all the guys we've posted over the past, you know, was 3 years at this point. Yeah. Like, documenting that, you're able to see how a guy transitions completely or like improve completely from one season to the next. Like,
Sheesh.
and I say that loosely because it's not like, you know, oh, he was trash this last season.
Right.
But it's like you get to see the evolution of some of their styles. Like, you ever look at guys coming into the league? I know the NBA does this a lot. They'll show like the LeBron James draft day fit, and then you'll see what he wears now.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of the same thing on the football side of things. Like, BlitzFits wasn't a thing when like Odell got drafted, right?
Right.
But I went back and I did a post about the evolution of Odell Beckham's style. And it's like seeing the evolution, you kind of get to see, like, although you're just seeing Odell, you get to see fashion as itself. Like, a lot of people, we're in the skinny jean era, now we're more in the baggy jean era.
Okay, yeah,
it's kind of like a revolving door in fashion that you get to see. And although it's not you that you're looking at,
right,
you're like, oh dang, I remember when I used to wear this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But now I'm more on comfortable wear or whatever. So yeah, it's documenting it, and then it's also kind of showing, like, giving inspiration to, you know, there's times where I don't know what I'm wearing to a specific event, and I'm like, dang, let me go look at BlitzFits real quick, or let me just look at my camera roll, because it's all, if you look at my camera roll, bro, it's literally just, if somebody didn't know me and know what I do, they would look at my camera and be like, hold up 1 second, like, hey Moses, let's have some talk. But yeah, I just go on there and look for inspiration.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people that DM me and just like, yo, you know, every time I need to figure out what I'm wearing, I kind of go to the page.
Like actual football players, or just like,
nah, even football players too.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's been football players that even reach out like, hey man, I'm looking for a stylist.
Right.
You know, wanting us to style them. But I'm like, hey man, I know my limits.
Listen. Maybe this is another breaking news, but is this something that BlitzFits might in the future want to get into?
I'll never say never. Never say never. You never know. But chances are it
Justin Bieber said that, right?
Yeah, he did.
Right.
Chances are it wouldn't be me doing it.
Okay.
Unless, you know, God came in and said, hey, 180, you're going this direction.
Okay.
But, you know, never say never. You know, as a brand, we may or may not. But, you know, for now, we'll hold off on it.
Yeah. So, I've always thought about this. Like, do you have, and you don't have to get into the weeds of it, but you keep mentioning, you know, like how sometimes you get DM. You know, you just mentioned sometimes football players. Do you ever get scenarios where a football player is like, yo, like, why didn't you post me?
Oh man.
Or they feel sort of like an entitlement that they need to be ranked higher. And for the viewers and listeners, or maybe explain that part about the ranking, what you do towards that.
Yeah. So typically every year at the end of the season, like right before Super Bowl, we do what we call the Drip Awards.
Okay.
So essentially it's 3 different teams. Let me say 3. It's awards given to the best dressed players in the league, right?
For that season.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, there's 3 different teams: first team, second team, third team, all fits team.
Okay.
You got the all XXL team that showing love to the bigger guys, the best dressed big men in the league. And then you have individual awards, the MVP, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved. And then we also have we call it the drippiest team. So like the best dressed team as a collective,
right?
In the league. So we do that every year, like probably the first week of February. And it's interesting, man. Like, and I understand, because as a competitor,
right,
like you want to be competitive in anything. You're playing at the highest level, you know, in the world, in American football, right? So it makes sense that if you're passionate about your sport and you're competitive, that you're also passionate about fashion. You want to be competitive at it too, you know. So yeah, we get when we drop the list, man, we get guys that's upset, like saying, we get stylists upset. You know, we get people that's like, yo, y'all, you know, y'all should have included this guy, that guy. And at the end of the day, it's hard, you know what I'm saying? Because even me and, you know, my graphic guy, Kyle, which also I want to shout out Kyle, man.
Hey, shout out Kyle.
Kyle, you the MVP, man. Me and him been rocking since 2020.
Wow.
And low-key, you might want to get him on here. He got way more experience than me. But,
hey, listen, Kyle, I'll reach out to you.
Yeah. You know, so I just threw a guess in there. You know, he can't say no now. But yeah, so like we'll sit down.
We'll see if he watches it.
Right.
That'll be the test if you can come on.
That's true. I can't send him the link. But we'll be sitting there like, months before we drop, or just like, yo, this list is hard, bro. Like, there's so many names that we want to put in there that's just like, when you start weighing it out, and we kind of look at it in 3 tiers. Like, obviously, style, right? We look at it from the stylistic eye.
Mm-hmm.
We also look at engagement, right? But we also know that that's skewed because you can post a pic of a specific notable player,
right,
and he's gonna get likes no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if he's just wearing like the most simplest of things.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Yeah, so we use that to an extent, not too much. And then like votes. So we introduced a new element where we have followers start voting on who they want to see. Right.
Wait, I didn't even know that. Wait, does that happen in like how does that happen?
So we do that the week. We already started working on the list.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Right.
We don't wait for the votes.
Right.
But the votes.
Okay. We already know Stefan's gonna be on it.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, I'll say Steph is from where we're from.
Right.
But that is in no way, I'm not biased towards that. Like Steph is one of them guys when it comes to fashion.
Yeah.
But yeah, we open up votes the week before we drop it.
Okay.
And it's an opportunity for, the fans to engage in it. So it's a percentage of, like, of course, the stylistic eye, and a certain percentage for the engagement on social just throughout the season, and then votes. So that's how we do it.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it gets competitive, man. Even within us, like, there'll be some guys that reach out like, yo, dang, I didn't make it. And I'm like, man, like, trust me, I wanted to throw you on there, but like looking at the list.
But try harder.
I don't know, but it's
you don't have to say it. I'll say it for you.
But it's also interesting because, as we've done these, you start to see how guys from one season to the next season take it more seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they actually put in the work of, hey, man, I want to the same amount of work I'm putting in on the field.
Right.
I want to put that into how I present myself and show up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people have mixed feelings about that. It was like, yo, you should be worrying more about how you play.
Right.
I mean, for some guys, it's entwined. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't show up and just whatever for some guys and just automatically turn it on.
Right.
It's turned on by the moment they wake up.
Right.
And they put on whatever they put on.
Right.
Because like what Dion said, you look good, you look good, you feel good, you play good, or however you say it.
Right.
Like, that's actually mentally a thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I've seen guys really take it to the next level.
Right.
And even some guys, like, you can see the evolution. You know what I'm saying? And they come to me like, yo, this season, I'm coming for it.
So what happens when they say that and they still don't make the list? Like,
I don't know if I've had that yet.
Okay.
Because it's only been a few guys. And when I'm not throwing out no pity, like, if you come correct, like, you'll get on the list. And mind you, it's not just me doing the list.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I bring in consultants,
hey,
friends
come
of
on
mine,
now, bro.
people. So don't just DM me or follow my Instagram. Like, hey,
On that note, I also wanted to ask, so like, have you had any personal encounter with these football players? Like, they pull up on you? You're because you might want to share like what you do outside of BlitzFits, so that there's context to like where we're going with this question.
So my full-time job, ironically, is I work in the NFL at the NFLPA, player marketing, right? So I'm a marketer by day, and a marketer by night, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Of course, the two are separated; they're two different things. And I never like use one to leverage the other,
right?
And vice versa. But there's been some encounters where, like, I might not say like, oh, this person runs BlitzFits, but like somebody says it. And now this guy knows. And it's like, yo, bro, like, I had one encounter with a guy.
That firm grip. Like, yo, come here.
I had one encounter with a guy. He's like, oh, he found out I was BlitzFits. He's like, yo, bro, like, I was telling my man, if I ever see the guy that started BlitzFits, I'm going to dap him up. And he just looked at me. He's like, what's up, bro? Like, just dap me up. He's like, yo, that joint's fire. So there's been a lot of positive. I think all of them have been positive. You know what I'm saying?
Cool.
There's all.
Was that specific guy on the? Did he make a list?
Yeah, he hasn't made a list yet, but he gets featured.
Wow, so that was just like really love. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was really love. But there's been like moments where I'll get like the yo, bro, like y'all gotta start featuring me.
Yeah.
some people that work with the guy say like, yo, man, y'all gotta check out this dude. But you know, all of it is all in like it's nothing life or death with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's all mainly like, you know, bragging rights and different things like that. But to me, like it just shows the value of it.
Yeah.
Like it shows that people take it seriously. It's like, yo, if you're featured on BlitzFits, then like that means something to them.
Right.
And that means something to me that they feel like that.
Right.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a business standpoint, like this does add some credibility to your brand as a whole. If like other brands, specifically those that are fashion related, want to work with you. So
it's funny because and it comes full circle because it happened with CD Lamb. Like he found out that I was BlitzFits. We were at an event.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I think he made third team. He made third team.
Yeah.
On the office team. He just looked at me. He looked at what he had on. It was a tough fit too. It was just, it's Gucci fit. Like I was like, yo, this sounds fire. And he was like, he looked at his fit. He's like, third team? Like third team? I was like, hey man, third team, if you look at the numbers, third team is I think it's 8 per team. So 8 times 3, that's what, top 24? Yeah, top 24 in the league.
And how many people are there in the league as a whole?
Over 2,000.
Dang.
Yeah. It's over 2,000.
Oh, nah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so that's how you know the list is hard to dwindle down.
Sheesh.
So, yeah, we was at the event. So then we created a connection there.
Yeah.
And then he was at Paris Fashion Week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then he reached out, or somebody from his team reached out. I was like, yo, CD's gonna be at Paris Fashion Week. You know, let's collab and do something. And we did. We did a little behind the scenes shoot, all just from that one, you know, moment.
Right.
Now putting a face to the name of BlitzFits, and we created some fire content. Like
yeah, Paris. I mean, I saw it. It was
yeah. So it was just a dope moment to, even though like, and that goes to my point, like even though it'll be some like, you know, some subtle like, yeah, 13, bro, come on, dog. But those moments turn into, you know, content, you know what I'm saying? And in relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
That's real cool. And yeah, that video was just amazing because just, I mean, even knowing the background of how it came about, like it showed the diligence and work you put in, but also the commitment on CDs. And so shout out to him.
Yeah, man. Shout out to CD, man. It was definitely, I'm grateful to him for the opportunity for him to think about, you know, us, and also his stylist, London. She's dope. Like she's one of the dope.
Oh, that's her name.
Yeah. Okay. Her name is London.
But this was also in Paris, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
London and Paris with CD. Shout out to y'all, man.
So, you know, I know that BlitzFits, we're talking about all the goods, but, you know, it wouldn't be really authentic without talking about some challenges that you face while running the page, especially for, you know, those that are thinking about starting anything related to this, or just any venture. Like, so what are some challenges you face? And if you can share, like, how exactly do you overcome them?
No, I think one of the challenges, especially starting off, is just consistency. Like, I think it's easy to get discouraged when you don't see the I guess the engagement and the response that you thought you'd get. Yeah. You know, when you started something, because at the end of the day, like, you're gonna be the biggest advocate for what you're trying to do, and you have the biggest expectation for it.
Yeah, that's a bar.
Yeah. So when you're not seeing that, it's discouraging. You know what I'm saying? But I think you got to kind of take yourself out of that and allow yourself to see it sober and see, okay, what are the areas that I can improve while still being consistent? You know what I'm saying? So I think the challenge for me was, how can I be consistent and still bring quality?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to keep, for this specific type of brand, you got to be consistent and have a high frequency, but still have quality content. So that was one of the challenges, figuring out how to do that at a high level without missing the beat. And, you know, once I started doing consistently, it took like a few months for I guess, to catch the algorithm. Yeah. And it started to grow. You know what I'm saying? But then once you hit 10K, stagnant again. You know what I'm saying? Like you
like
have
you think it just like
you
it
think
goes up like continuously.
yeah.
But
So it's a lot of ebbs and flows of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the challenges that, you know, it really is, man, just stop looking at the numbers and start just going to work and creating quality stuff, right? Everything else is going to catch up. And then the second one is just remaining innovative. You know what I'm saying? Like continuing to see, because, yeah, we could have literally just posted pictures and just left it at that, right? I'm like, okay, how can we be innovative?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, you know, now we introduced the drip awards. Of course, it was inspired by, you know, some of the other leagues doing that. But like, how can we do it in our own voice? Right. Boom. There's that. Now we can literally stay there, or see other ways to innovate. Now we just recently launched digital magazines. Right. All this is inspired by other things we've seen in the market. But how can we do it in our own voice? Right. So now we're continuing to be innovative and see how can we create original content that is in our voice. So that's the second challenge, is like, how can you remain inspired to continue to innovate and create different content? I mean, it's overwhelming. And I think that it's like, for me, I have high expectations for myself. I'm hard on myself. But I think it's setting benchmarks that are reasonable. You know what I'm saying? And locking in. Like, you can't do everything out there. You know, you see so much and you want to do everything. And I had to tell myself, like, look, focus on this thing for the year, and let's do it well. Knock it out, see the response, and then go back to the drawing board, see what we got next. So yeah, those are some of the challenges, even to this day. Like, you know, challenges of continuing to be innovative and see how else we can tell stories through fashion.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned all that, because I think one of the misconceptions is like, oh, this challenge, or challenge in its entirety, like, is only subjected to where I'm at when I start. But people don't realize, or fail to realize, that like there's new challenges with each new level that you get to, and it's like part of being innovative, as you said, is figuring out ways to work around that. You know, and if you could get a great teammate or teammates, plural, that, you know, work around you and you guys have the same vision, like, you'll go far, you know. And
that's another thing when you talk about like now scaling and, you know, trying to go to the next level. Like, you know, I always say like BlitzFits is really like a 2-man team. You know what I'm saying? With consistency, as a 2-man team. Obviously, I have people that help here and there. But in order to scale, man, like, there's so much ideas out there. And it's gonna take a team to get it there. You know what I'm saying? So it's mainly like just knowing timing and knowing, you know, when the time is to do some things while still navigating, you know, your full time and all that different things. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but it's all great. I'm all grateful for it.
Which is why, if you're interested, internship, hit them up. Right?
Hey man. I'm low key intern myself.
What you mean?
Like, intern, you know what I'm saying? I'm learning.
Oh,
I'm still catching the ropes.
Listen, you just dropping
the number one BlitzFits intern. You feel me?
That's true. I mean, isn't there a saying about like something like about being your own student or something like that?
Yeah, student of the game. Yeah, something like that.
True. I asked a similar question like this earlier, but this is kind of tailored around, like, as we know, fashion is going to progress. You know, there's going to be new players entering the league. Do you see BlitzFits how do you see them evolve in that process, like, to kind of move the needle forward?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think when it comes to moving the needle in the football fashion space, I think it's just continuing to give the guys a voice, to be honest, like, because there's so many different voices and so many different reasons of why guys are into fashion, and so many different varieties of fashion in the league. I think if we just continue to tell the stories of these guys, like, you're gonna catch all the other stuff. Like, you're gonna catch the evolution of it. You know,
it comes naturally.
Yeah, it comes naturally. Like, you have guys that are eclectic in the league that are starting to, you know, wear things that most people wouldn't wear on a day-to-day down the street. You know what I'm saying? You get to get those stories. Now you're talking about the evolution of certain things. Like, I think that's the beauty of football, is there's so many different paths of life in that game. You know what I'm saying? That we can tell those stories. So that was a clever way of me saying I don't know exactly how. Hey man, we're gonna lean on the guys. And
it's funny because what you said is authenticity, right? What you just said right there, and it leads me to this question: is that in the world of marketing and advertising and branding, authenticity is key, right? So how do you maintain that level of authenticity while displaying, these fashion sense? You mentioned earlier about like not being swayed, by these conversations that you have with the players. And that's a form of it, but on the day-to-day basis, how do you maintain authenticity through BlitzFits?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just the brand voice we started with. I think it's just staying there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you come to the BlitzFits page, you're going to see quality content. Yeah, it's going to be fun. You're never going to see it be like, so, hey, this is Travis Kelce walking in wearing, Louis V, da-da-da. Like, it's not going to be so media or so, like, buttoned up, but it's still going to be authentic. Like,
right.
We'll put a caption there that might come from a song lyric or something that is clever or, like, something that's funny. You know what I'm saying? So it would be one thing if I started with, like, the more easygoing voice for the brand, and then now I try to polish it up because now we have more eyes and more followers.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, like, people liked it how you started.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's continued to grow.
Right.
Why change now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not me saying that you can't polish up certain things of the brand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a brand that is growing and you want to polish up the logo, that's different. You know what I'm saying? Is it a logo that still fits the theme of your brand, or is it something that you feel like can completely change, like, the whole company of the brand? Right. So it's like, how can you continue to stay authentic? It's just be true to yourself while still polishing up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because there's always room to grow.
Yeah, there's always room to grow, right? Like, for example, you know me for a while.
Yeah.
Right? We've grown up together since
flat top days were crazy.
You know what I'm saying? You've seen me in times where I wasn't like the fashion guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now we're working. We have a little bit more money. If I came in here wearing like a Gucci down fit, you'll be like, yo, that's not your brand. That's not authentic to you.
I see what you're saying.
But it's because I have more money now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But what's true to me is, like, I've been able to, like, you can see in me, like, oh, Moses has a little bit more quality in certain things, but he's still wearing stuff that is true to him. Yeah. And vice versa. That's what it is when you're staying authentic to yourself.
Yo, that was Moses. So that first off, that was a great response. But that last part was Moses subtly just trying to flex a little bit.
No.
If you see him in anything other than Gucci, ask him.
No.
Ask him why he's not Gucci down till the head.
A lot of people know. If they see me like that, like, they'll be like,
nah, actually, I'd be shocked, to be honest. I'd be shocked seeing, because that's just not your.
It's just not me.
Yeah, that's not you. And it's crazy how, like, that's become your brand and persona. Like, people know you for that. Even people that might meet you once, to, and try to describe you might be like, oh yeah, he's a guy with the,
wear basics.
Simple. And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with basics. It's like how you stylize them.
Yeah, so. I be wondering if people, like,
or style them, like,
meet me and especially more so, like, players that meet me and is like, oh, this is BlitzFits guy, and would expect a completely different, like, fit or
I see
vibe.
what you're saying. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is interesting. I wonder, but hey, man, one day I'll find out.
Well, Instagram and all these other social media platforms are mainly curated aesthetics and whatnot. So how do you ensure that, like, you are visually appealing to, prospects, day ones, and anyone else in between?
Yeah, nah, that's a good point. And it kind of runs into the authenticity thing. I think, when, like we mentioned before, a brand, like, you are your own brand. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So how you present yourself, no matter where, it's going to be indicative of your brand.
Right.
Same thing how I feel with BlitzFits. Like, one, for the most part, it's always going to be quality edited content on the feed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That looks aesthetically pleasing from my perspective. But even, like, when we're working with brands, you know, there's a level of quality that we won't go under just to work with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying there's a standard.
There's a standard.
Right.
There's a standard. Like there's a lot of people like saying like, oh man, you monetize, you done this, that. I'm like, I mean, yes, it's in a world that is all about monetization in our culture right now. Like, yeah, there's so many opportunities, but like at what expense?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the branding is not even just the quality of it. It's like, okay, yes, I could go work with this brand and but does that brand align with what you're trying to do, or just a quick bag? You know what I'm saying? So it's bigger than that. Like it's thinking about quality from like the actual visual standpoint, but then what brands are you aligning yourself with that makes sense to your brand, right? And then also on the back end, like from a professional standpoint, like how are you branding yourself in the email space? How are you branding yourself when you're, you know, creating decks and pitching it to different partners? Like all that behind the scenes stuff still plays into your brand as well.
Yeah.
So I think those are all the things holistically I think about when talking about the brand. Like, yeah, the Instagram page is probably the most visible platform, but if you go to our website, or if you email us, or if you go to our Twitter, which, you know, similar to Instagram, like, does the brand match in all those different areas?
So while you're, you know, talking about this, like, do you have any advice and tips to not only summarize what you just said, but to hit home for someone who's listening to this and is like, yo, how do I make, you know, my email, website, you know, social media all conducive to the same message, but, you know, obviously different platform, different brush, different strokes.
Man, get a consultant. Like, nah. I mean, for some people it might be that. I like to think I have, you know, friends that are I'm blessed to have friends that I can consult and ask questions and see what they think. But I think sometimes it might require you to take a step back to think about big picture. You know, what is it that you want to come across when people come across either your personal brand, or you're trying to be an influencer, or you have like an actual company. Like, take a step back and think of the brand holistically, right?
What you're saying is lean back.
Yeah, lean back.
I said that like, most dry.
Lean back, you know, put some more, you know, flavor in there. Say nah. But
I wish I could have seen that.
Take a step back and really just analyze from a holistic standpoint, like, how does my brand look in all these different spheres? How do I want it to look? Or maybe it's like going to a brand that you admire, right?
Yes.
And seeing how they do it. See what their mission statement is. See how they're positioning themselves on all these different platforms.
Right.
And from there, don't take and copy and paste.
Right.
But that should be a blueprint for you to figure out, okay, this is how I should work on my brand. And if it's like an influencer, find an influencer that you know, like. If it's literally a B2B or whatever company, find a company that aligns with, or that you really like, and see why you like it. Take a deep dive and an audit of it.
Just from a fashion standpoint, is there any player that comes to mind that has been consistent in their
career?
Their career.
Yeah, man. Tyrod Taylor of the New York Giants.
Okay.
He's their backup quarterback.
Okay.
But he's been, ever since I started getting into the football fashion space, like, you know, it'd be easy to sit here and name like a more notable player, but although in my eyes he's pretty notable.
Right.
But like, if you go and look at his catalog, he's wearing stuff that, like, it's just, this guy's in the fashion, bro. Like, this guy's on it.
So you mean it's not the V-Loans?
Yeah.
It's not the gallery department.
You can tell that he's curating his stuff, like, strategically. You know what I'm saying? Him and his team are curating, like, when you think of a brand,
right?
He has a brand. If you go look at him, it's unique to him. It's rare, if at all, you'll see somebody wearing the same thing as him.
Wow.
Because that's how curated he is for his stuff.
Right.
And he's even started his own fashion line.
Okay.
Right. So I think he's been consistent, like, just from the start.
Right.
Of you know.
Where do you see him right now? I know it's a bit early to predict.
I mean, Tyrod, man, he's been first team since we started.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Like consistently?
Consistently
Dang.
First team. There's only a few guys that's been consistently first team, and he's one of them.
Who off the top, you know,
Stephon Diggs has been first team consistently. I want to say Travis Kelce.
Okay.
I think they might be the only 3.
Okay.
I might have to go back and look back. I think they might be the only 3.
Dang.
Yeah.
This one is a specific question that I wanted to ask, and you've touched on it briefly, so I'm going to read it because I wanted to say this exactly the way I envision. What are some of the most common fashion mistakes you've observed among NFL players, and how can they improve their style?
Hey, man, let me preface by saying that I'm no stylist. I'm no fashion expert. You know what I'm saying? This is just from my perspective. But I'll say, and I think a lot of people might agree with this, I think it's just the silhouettes, like how things fit you.
Okay.
Rather than what you're wearing. I think we've seen it many times. Like guys might wear the same thing. You know, it's bound to happen.
Right.
There's so many guys in the league. You might wear the same pieces, but it might fit differently on one guy than it does on the other because it just is a better silhouette for them. Not every piece of clothing is gonna fit with your body.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's some tees that I don't wear just because I don't feel like it sits well on my silhouette.
Right.
So I think that's one of the most common ones. Just how things fit.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had to learn that the hard way too.
Yeah, care to share any stories?
Hey man, just no skinny jeans season era, man. Yeah, it was a long day.
So I don't know how much I want to share, but I had my phases of skinny jeans, and I learned, like, the older you get, even if you're...
Nah, this man light, bro, his quads used to be popping out, boy. Yo, I'll spare you. The man calves, bro. His calves and quads, bro. That's the first. Because you saw that before you saw him.
So what's crazy about that is, like, during that time, that's what made sense.
Yeah, that was in. But that
you know what I mean?
And that's what was in. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But just because it was in didn't mean it fit our silhouettes. You know what I'm saying? Just because skinny jeans was in doesn't mean that me at 250, defensive man in college, should have been wearing skinny jeans.
I feel like someone is listening to this right now, like, yo, he's talking about me.
Yeah,
you
bro.
need to listen.
You know what I'm saying? So just because it's in doesn't mean half the stuff that I post of guys wearing, you're not gonna see me wear.
Right.
Because it's not for me, even though it's in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, Moses, last question for you. If there's anyone out there, whether they're fashion, influence, whatever, and they want to create sort of like a niche, or is it niche?
Either
niche. Yo,
tomato.
Hey, English is my second language, so forgive me. If anyone wants to create a niche, like product or service or offering, what advice can you give to that? Because they might feel like the odds are stacked against them. Like, oh, I have this specific idea that I want to curate it. Do they broaden it a bit, or do they stick to it and be clear vision wise what they want to do?
That's a great question, man. I think, and that's a difficult question. Like when you have a specific niche, like, and it's weird because a lot of people ask me a lot of times, like, hey man, like, I mean, I say a lot of people say it all the time.
Yeah.
That sounds good. A lot of people have been asking me, hey, I've maybe had one or two people ask me.
Yo, we all do it.
Yeah, one or two people ask me.
One person asks you, like, yo, when you going to drop the shirt? And now you put up a story like, yo, y'all been asking.
Right. Well,
no one asked.
Like one or two people asked me, like, hey, man, like, I'm starting the brand. Can you, like, kind of help me to help grow it?
Right.
And some industries and some, like, niches, it's a lot harder to try to grow versus the one that I'm in specifically,
right?
Because you got to look at a lot of things. You got to look at what's already there. You got to look at how you're going to come into this space and be different,
right?
Or look at what you can offer differently, and kind of analyze all of those things,
right?
Because there is such thing as being an oversaturated, like, niche.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what can you bring to the table that differs? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people say, I want to do it because I'm passionate about it, which, yes, that could be true. You can be passionate about it. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to try to infiltrate it.
Goodness.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Jeez.
I mean, I think it's just a lot of analyzing to especially for more niches that are like really oversaturated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the influencer space and different things like that. I think it just takes a lot more analyzation.
Yeah.
So that you're prepared to go into it with a plan.
Yeah.
On how to differ. Like I think, and you're one of the great examples here, right? Like you've been talking about this for how long?
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that you've gotten to a point where you've uniquely curated this specific platform to fit a specific niche.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And talk to a different audience than people that might still be in this space are talking to. Right. So yeah, I think it just takes real thought. You know, you might need to consult your community and other people, but just because it might be hard up front doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Dang.
Being passionate about something is not just something that excites you.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you're willing to sacrifice for too.
Dang.
You know what I'm saying?
Ouch. Yo.
Yeah, bro. I'll say it again, you know. But being passionate about something is not just something that you're excited about, something that you're willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And sometimes the sacrifice might have to come up front, right? To take the time to really see what it is that you want to do in this space.
Listen, when I started this podcast, I told myself that I was not going to be one of those like, ooh,
that little church.
But but it's like, you know, because it's not me, but at the end of the day, like I want to emphasize that like certain things you're saying really hit home, but also I hope the viewers and listeners while they're listening to it can kind of like take it and be like, yo, this is he's speaking to me, you know, and learn throughout this process.
Yeah, I've learned. I don't want to say the hard way. Everybody try to make their story, you know, the trap, but I've learned through experience. You know what I'm saying? I've learned through going through it. And yeah, man, you got to be willing to really put in the time and the hours into it.
Yeah.
To be prepared.
Right.
Right. Because you see a lot of people go into different things not counting the cost. And you see them like a month, 2 months later, like, yo, whatever happened to. Yeah, man. I think, you know, it's just not the right time.
Right.
So.
Wow. Well, Moses, it's been a pleasure having you. This is really,
man, I'm honored.
I hope people listening to this or watching this know that this conversation is kind of like an extension of our friendship. I really value Moses as a stand-up guy.
Like an hour and a half.
We're not even going to talk about how long it took to set this.
Man, that's how you know Light is one of my guys, bro. You know what I'm saying?
We were supposed to start at a specific time, but you know, things happen. But I appreciate my guy Moses.
Appreciate you too.
Before we head out, I want to give you a chance. Whatever you want to say. If there's anything that you're preparing for that the viewers should know about BlitzFits coming up this year, you know, the floor is yours.
Nah, man. Like I said, Drip Awards gonna come in. We're gonna continue to show you guys what guys are wearing throughout the season. We're working on some good stuff. Trying to incorporate some more, you know, brand partnerships. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Follow the page.
Yeah. This has been the Creative Aspect. Again, the podcast all about marketing, branding, advertising, and everything else in the creative world. I hope you like, follow, subscribe, everything that y'all be doing,
guys.
Huh?
So he do to this. He's getting used to it. Slide down.
And yeah, peace.
All right, y'all.
Actually, I just thought of an idea, right? So I think I should create. We're talking about branding, right? So I think I should create something for my brand here. I think at the end of every episode, we should just look in the camera and say nothing for 10 seconds.
All right, when we starting?
All right, let's start.
Only for Light, bro.
Yo, if you're listening to this right now, you don't know what's happening, but go to YouTube and see we're just looking at the camera. All right, peace.